Welcome to the broadcast, my dear old fruits. I'm sorry that those fairy lights in the background are flickering away in a rather irritating manner. They don't look like they're doing that to the naked eye, but through the screen they're flickering, whereas the ones on the vase there aren't flickering. So go figure, but I'll take them down for the next broadcast, I expect. Never mind. What on earth has Meghan Markle been up to in my absence? Pulling all kinds of ridiculous faces. All pale and wan, and that shapes that she's been throwing, the weird angles, the jaunty elbows, and all kinds of matriculations. We're going to have to look over that, I'm afraid, my dears. But first of all, let's look at Catherine, because you've been asking me my opinion for my critique of her gown, because she wore that green goddess gown, didn't she? That velvet number by the German designer at the 98th Royal Variety performance. The 98th. Well, I will say that, of course, she did look divine in that fir tree green, rather Christmassy. I might have plumped actually for the burgundy version that I saw. I thought that was really rather nice. It's just a personal preference. There's something about a dress that is all green, as much as I can enjoy many of them, that something always reminds me of a reference to Elvira in Blithe Spirit, when she appears in her ghostly form and there is that green cast ethereally surrounding her. So there's no doubt that Catherine was a sensation and she was well received, but I will tell you that I do not care to see bare arms at a November function on a princess in that manner. And I'm not saying that princesses haven't done that before and bared the arms, of course they have, but when they progress out of a car on a chilly night, traditionally, the arms would be covered with a fur. Yes, I said it, with a fur, a pelt, a stole, a sable of some sort. And I don't care if it's an old antique one or a new fake one. And we don't need the anti-fur brigade popping up to hector me. If they do so, if any moderators happen to be around and notice it, block them. I don't need them hectoring me. We all know that many of you don't agree with the wearing of furs, even old furs, but this is for my thoughts now. It's my playground. So shut it. It doesn't mean that I don't respect the opinion, but shut it, shut the cake hole, and shut the trap. Do you understand? I would have liked to have seen something round her arms, and I'm not talking about a poncho or even a pair of gloves in this circumstance. I did also feel about that gown on Catherine's particular shape that something about it felt a little bit restrictive around the shoulders. I understand that's part of the design, around the shoulders and what there is of a bust. She met with Paddington Bear, though, and that was very nice, and she bonded with Jessie J, which was very moving. Well, on a whim, I started making Christmas pomanders last night. And I would thoroughly suggest that if you want to do something relaxing and meditative to begin the Christmas season, make pomanders at home with a nice evening soundtrack. Turn off your social media, and it's quite meditative, you know, to pierce the oranges and even lemons, if you like, with cloves, and enjoy that wonderful scent as you're making it. And you can imagine that you're in a traditional family Victorian home. That's what I like to do, and I like to look over the eye candy of all the pomanders that they used to make, and the scents and the sounds. I did mine to the playlist of Enya's Christmas music that she posted on her YouTube channel. I was chilling out to that last night, making my pomanders. And the scents, everything comes together to make you feel rather glorious. That's really nice. But choose a nice orange that yields, my dear. Make it easy on your thumbs, because by the pricking of those thumbs, it can get quite tough on them with the cloves. You might want to wear gloves or use a thimble, but it's worth doing, my dear. And of course, I'm going to do some more fancy designs using ribbons and gemstones, maybe some candied fruits, this type of thing. And you need to dry them off in the oven, or you can wrap them in a brown paper bag and put them in the airing cupboard to dry out, this kind of thing. But it's so fun to do, and hang them from trees and gift to your friends. It's gorgeous. I highly recommend it. And you could use a little corn on the cob skewer to pierce the holes into the orange fruit to help you get the cloves through. Well, the Duchess of Nonsense on Stilts has been attention-seeking as ever, hasn't she? Something big is coming, she teased. Big Willie, are you talking about, Meghan? Is that the big thing that's coming? Nope. No. Something else was up the wizard's sleeve, and not just little Todger himself, your husband, my darling. No, it was, in fact, a sale. A sale. 20% off she's trying to flog her wares for. Oh, the oh-so-desirable brand that she's been teasing us with, the oh-so-limited edition range that's been flying off of the shelves, is now being flogged within an inch of its life in the spirit of gratitude and generosity, simply because the girl can't give it away. That is the truth of the matter. She can't give it away, no one's buying it, and so all of a sudden it's 20% off, free shipping, buy one get one free. You know, this is what's going to be coming next. They can't get rid of the stock, quite obviously. This overpriced sprite of marketing guff that she comes out with simply cannot be living up to this CEO, chief executive's expectations and her projections and her graphs that she discusses around the board table. Perhaps it's time for another seminar with your friend Emma Grede and your friends Kim and Kylie. What do you think? They are young ladies who own businesses that get results, Meghan. Desirable results, not delusions and fantasies. And so Meghan resorts to the lure of free shipping. I'm not saying she's the only company that offers it, but she is the only one who, on the one hand, insists that everything sells out in 2 seconds. We just can't keep up with demand. There's such a want and a need and a craving for all of my shit. And yet, I'm going to start slashing prices and making great big reductions to make sure that it gets off the shelves. Do you see the contradiction? Do you see the quiz? Do you see the lie? Meghan thinks that she is business savvy, doesn't she? That she can sell ice to an Eskimo. Well, as you may recall, I lost my virginity to an Eskimo, didn't I? And I can tell you that they are very discerning people. They're very discerning people. And they don't suffer fools, and they appreciate quality, as you can understand. Meghan has been popping up in collaboration with Soho House, Soho Home, and in her old stomping ground this was of West Hollywood as well. Oh, she just stomps every pavement, doesn't she? Stomp the pavement, from Paris to New York. You know, I purchased a book when I was in New York in Columbus Circle. I remember picking it up, this was years ago, called How to Boil Water, I think it was, because I'm a useless cook and don't know much about it, and I always forget how to boil an egg. It's terrible, isn't it? So I thought How to Boil Water sounded like a good title for me. I remember buying it. Well, it brought to mind Meghan's latest expedition into flogging her bag of spice to create mulled water, as people have been saying. How depressing. Mulled water is what she's trying to make because she's kind of dispensing with the alcoholic element of her mulled wine. Well, I know that the girl fancies herself as the next Martha Stewart, but I would be very surprised if she indeed does know how to boil water. And what I can tell you is that she certainly boils my piss. Now, another round robin was issued from her seasonal sips to warm the spirit. Spiced cider, hot toddy, mulling spice kits, all very nice. I like those kind of smells and that kind of atmosphere. But evidently they haven't been flying off the shelves either, my dear. So maybe suckers out there aren't being seduced by a sachet of stale potpourri for $16. I mean, can you imagine, really, my dear, a hot toddy without liquor? I don't get it. It'd be like sex without a penis. No offence to any of my lesbian fruits out there, of course. I understand that we all have our preferences. And you've got your strap-ons and all of that paraphernalia, whatever floats your boat, you know. I just personally never understand why you would plump for another vagina in the room. Isn't one quite enough, to be honest with you, when you could simply lie back and enjoy the fruits of membership and the fruits of manhood, you understand. But then again, I'm old-fashioned. I digress. I did notice in some of the photographs that Meghan actually has a rather similar face and similar contours to the actress Margaret Hamilton, who played the Wicked Witch in Wizard of Oz. Do you remember that lady? Although she was a little bit prettier than Meghan, and by all accounts, she was a very lovely lady. One of my friends is related to her, actually. But they do have similar lines and features when the hair is off of the face. I did notice that. Yes, she's very much like that character. Let's paint her green. And they are over the moon to spread their legs. Oh no, the fruit spread The fruit spread is apparently one of Oprah's favourites, one of her favourite things of the year. Where's Fraulein Maria when you need her for raindrops on roses? No, Oprah doesn't want whiskers on kittens. She wants fruit spread. From the cat that got the cream. Apparently Oprah loves to drizzle it on an English muffin. So does Meghan, and so does Stedman, doesn't he? Oprah. I mean, we won't even go there with Gail. Oprah Winfrey, of course. I will always love the girl, I've got to be honest with you. We've got our issues with her, haven't we, my dear, in the wake of recent years? I certainly have, but I'll always love the girl. And once she was a trusted resource. Now she appears to be a revenue stream for a really rather mediocre grift. Go back to remembering your spirit, Oprah. Have you forgotten your spirit? And she created Harpo, didn't she? Harpo Productions, which is Oprah spelt backwards, H-A-R-P-O, Harpo. Imagine if Meghan did the same, it would be Noggin Productions. Watch this space. Now, we're going to have to address the subject of Meghan's appearance on the cover of Harper's Bazaar, where they were harping on quite bizarrely about her, and they called it Meghan's moment. Well, actually, Meghan's moment was the 19th of May 2018, my dears, when she managed to bag a royal husband and became a princess by proxy. That was her moment that she sullied. I thought that this barefaced chic that she's coming out with these days was actually better and actually really rather good. It worked, whether or not she was actually wearing makeup. She looked good when she was interviewed by Jamie Kern-Lima. Do you remember that one? Well, for Harper's, I'm afraid that the painfully uncontrived look that she's gunning for, insisting as she does on wearing Dior at every turn, as if she is couture material, you ain't lovey. There's nothing wrong, you know, you can scrub up pretty well at times, my dear, but couture material, model material, you ain't. No, some of us have got it. Others try. But it's Meghan's attempt at presenting herself as real and sincere, as natural. We are not falling for it, are we, my dear fruits? We are not falling for it for one cotton-picking minute. And that's all very lovely. But actually, she looks vaguely ill in these photographs and quite deranged in others. There's a look in her eye when it's not being disguised by too much eyeliner and mascara that says, mad. That's what I got from it anyway. Although I can't really complain that much because I always begged her to go for a more natural look with the hair and makeup, and she's doing it. The makeup, actually, there probably was oodles of it, even though they're suggesting it's natural, was by Diane Kendall. And there are plenty of undertakers out there looking for embalmers if the work dries up. Diane, my dear, because death warmed up seems to be the look of the season for the Markle of this world, although corpses, it has to be said, have a little bit more life in them, don't they, my dears? And then the pose in the red sheet. What was all that about, my dear? Are you constipated? Meghan, dear, are you constipated? Is that what's going on? Is that someone else's hand under there as well? What on earth's going on? They might have a fiddle if you're not careful. And have you just smelt a fart? Because that's the look you're serving. On the subject of Harry, Meghan says, he loves me so boldly, fully, and he also has a different perspective because he sees media that I wouldn't. Oh, please, Meghan, don't tell us that you're not there, just like the late Queen Elizabeth was with the Racing Post. That was her interest, scouring that every day for the odds, whereas yours is scouring Mail Online comment sections at every deep, dark corner of the internet for some sort of slight. You look over all the same media. But what media is Harry watching that you're not watching? Blue movies again? Is that what it is? Yeah. No one in the world loves me more than him, she says. Oh, Rachel, darling, you are forgetting one person. Yes, indeed there is one person who loves and adores you more than even your devoted husband. She emanates from the house of Ragland, and her name is you. So I know he's always going to make sure that he has my back. Yeah, you know what that's called, Meghan? It's called pussy whipped. That's what that's called, and that's what your husband is. The trouble with Meghan is that she thinks that she is more regal than royalty, and thinks that she can teach them a lesson or two. She thinks she's more queenly than Elizabeth, Camilla, Catherine, et al. Better than the British royal family. So why exactly does she continue to maraud the United States of America, clutching her British royal titles and decorations, both documentarily and physically? And I say this because in one of her vignettes, she brandishes a notebook with her royal Cypher, all these years after doing the dirty on us. And all of this is after she used HRH in handwritten notes that were used to sell her wares a few weeks ago. Do you remember that? She keeps bringing it out. And this cipher was embossed in gold, and it was paraded in her latest vignette of vulgarity. And the candle that she's been hawking is twice the price of the King's Highgrove offering, and half as appealing, if you ask me. My understanding is that there has been a push in the Harkle camp, and the As Ever brand, to push a focus on huge markups on her offerings, such as the wine, the plonk, and the candles, and I'm told still that perfume will be on the way at some point. And I'm also hearing that although she puts on a stoic front, she's quite terrified, even if the sales have been good, or if they haven't, hence the sales, because the profits, remember, even if some of these lines have been going into profit, they are all shared. They don't just all go into Meghan's pocket. She's got vast teams, hasn't she, to answer to. Lots of investors. There's going to be profits shared by many with fingers in the pie. She has her team, she has employees, associates. There ain't much left to cream off for her at the end of it. She's whipping the cream into a great big fluffy dollop of brand allure, dressing up her rinky-dink accessories as luxury essentials. I don't think so. And it didn't escape my notice that Emma Grede, who I quite enjoy, by the way, became an ambassador for the King's Trust. And she's one of Meghan's new besties, isn't she? Meghan's been cozying up to her. Well, Emma Grede has been cozying up to the King. It appears she loves him, and by association is fond of royalty. Actually, it was one of you that brought it to my attention, Marcia Henker. You told me about it, and I agree, it must be a real conflict of interest going on there. But the thing you have to understand that Meghan could never understand is that Emma Grede is spry of thought, and she is considered enough to stay cosy with both sides of the conundrum. Do you see how it's done? Ambassadorship, charitable philanthropy for the King is what she is going to be getting on with, because Emma Grede knows that it is also a hot ticket to a CBE, to an MB, a DBE, to damehood, ultimately, and empirical or not, a peerage is still a desirable addition to any business, brand or entrepreneur. And that is what it boils down to. It's lucrative to stay in the King's favour. And that's why she does it, even though he might be out of fashion. In some areas, at this moment in time, fashions come and go. As the Duchess says, the monarch is the monarch, and royalty remains. And also, Meghan staged a scene with Kelly McKee Zafjen. This was in the home cinema as the LA Dodgers won the World Series. And did you notice that the camera was completely set up there while Meghan was trying to appear all spontaneous and natural and candid? Well, you weren't being natural, you were being a great big ham. And then, of course, there were various announcements from the office of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. We all know what that office looks like, don't we, my dears? It basically consists of Doria in a shed with a typewriter and a bag of ganja. Harry issued The Bond, The Banter and The Bravery, What It Means to Be British, an essay, which was full of nice sentiment, by the way. Some of it was about how we should be looking after veterans who look after us. But he doesn't hesitate to illustrate his credentials in his capacity as global ambassador for Scotty's Little Soldiers. He was speaking about Britain, saying that Britain is and always will be
the country I proudly served and fought for.
And I thank thee for thy service, Harry, truly I do. But I do not thank you for sullying the reputation of that country with your clownish antics. And service? You talk about service, Harry? You couldn't serve jelly deals in a pie and mash-up, love. You are as slippery as an eel, that's for sure, with your foxy ways and that of your vixen. But while we appreciate you singing the praises of the noble, you do not have to include yourself within that number, my dear. And because I've been absent for a little while, I wasn't able to pass on my congratulations to Sir David Beckham, receiving his knighthood, a successful operator as he is, who cozied up to the king. They are useful to one another, and good luck to the boy. Good luck to him. I'm quite sure that Lady Beckham is eyeing up a damehood for herself. Don't get it twisted, of course she is. She's waiting in the wings for that. But she watched proudly on with Sir David's mum and dad. So all very desirable for their brand, isn't it, my dear? Money can't buy a ticket. The knighthood was for services to sport and to charity. His suit was actually designed by Vicky, and I read that it's navy blue, although to my eye in the photographs it looked very black. They all looked a bit funereal to my eye. They're all together for this particular occasion. Very smart, nevertheless, wonderful. It was nice to catch up with you and have a nice cosy chat, my dears. I look forward to seeing you in the next broadcast. Take care and toodle pip.